we're focused on growth.
First, inflation was transitory.
With everything coming to a head as far as supply chain issues,
it's about raising capital.
We were expecting credit crisis, credit freezes.
Once again, my name is John.
Seriously, you did it again.
Thank you for joining us here again on the Middle Class Macro Podcast. My name is John, joined once again by my good friend and partner, Steven. Today, we're going to be really talking about the auto industry, the slowdown in sales, the impact that's having on the average consumer, and hopefully what ends up being a very good opportunity for the average person to get a vehicle of their dreams, or just one that you've been looking to purchase for a business like myself. So, Steven, I know that we've been seeing a lot of delinquencies happening in the auto industry. Things seems like it's getting pretty tough. I mean, honestly, I feel like that's been one of the things that's crushing, again, middle class people more than anything right now.
Oh yeah, because I mean, delinquencies are at an all-time high, though at the same time, fucking repossessions are still at I think they're at like a 10-year low, 10 or 15-year low,
Right.
surprisingly. But like that's mainly because of the programs that were developed during the COVID crisis that like
Right.
basically but yeah, dude, no, it's definitely a huge it'll be a huge turn into a huge opportunity if someone's looking for a new car to buy or even like a decent used car. Because I mean, as you've seen for the past 2 years, like these prices, even for used cars, they have gotten ridiculous.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you and I both know that a Honda Civic does not go up in value the way it did
Right.
these
Exactly.
past
It
two
was
years. Just going by
crazy
value
how
at all,
people.
like no. But yeah, no, like because of the higher interest rates coming in and that mixed with these ridiculous fucking prices, no one's really wanting to buy.
Right. No,
And
absolutely. Right now, the consumer is really not in the market to buy a car right now. There were some people that bought during the pandemic, and I think it was just like this crazy scarcity mindset. I really felt for anyone who needed a vehicle through 2020 or 2021. I just what I mean. I get because life requires a vehicle. Like just there's
mm,
no way around it for a lot of things. But some people just got really caught up in like the worst loan of their life
yeah.
and just at a terrible price, and to be already underwater on a car after 1 to 2 years, that's a rough
hmm
situation to be in, honestly.
really is like it turned into something where paying 1,000 a month on a standard car has become normal for some reason.
Yeah. Oh my god, the amount people pay every month, talk about something crushing your budget. When the average person makes, I think in this country it still makes between 30 and 50 grand a year. What do you think, like, you're talking a $1,000 car payment, maybe a little bit, a little bit less, when like maybe say almost a third of your money goes to your vehicle.
hmm
I mean, what is that really? I mean, housing obviously hasn't gone down, so you have to think that's also more than a third, obviously. What
Yeah,
do you even have to live on at that point?
really have a quarter of your fucking paycheck if you're lucky.
Hmm. If you're lucky, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I
You're
hate to
just
put it
probably
like
eating
that.
top ramen to survive at that point.
hmm
It's been crazy. It really has been. And the pandemic really changed a lot of things. Actually, here, let me go ahead and share out the screen real quick here.
Yeah.
Stop one. And so what I have up right now is directly from the Fed's website, vehicle sales. You can see that massive slump right
hmm
there during COVID. No one wanted to buy a vehicle. No one wanted to go. I mean, people weren't even going on the road. They were hiding at home.
Yeah, lockdowns
And
were
you
in
can kind
full
of see,
effect.
yeah, exactly. And April 2021, 1 year later, you actually see sales are slightly above what it was pre-COVID. And then all of a sudden, the drop off, which is, I would say directly attributed to the inflation that we're probably experiencing right now.
hmm I think so, because like that spike, is basically, a lot of people restless. Plus, we were fucking locked down for months, so
Right.
on top of that,
Yeah.
people were probably needing new vehicles, and along with the so is that it, so total vehicle sales, is that by price or like units?
It
Like,
looks like units, millions of
okay.
units, season adjusted. Yeah.
So I
Um,
mean, so I mean, fucking basically fucking like that along with manufacturing being shut down for a little bit, so
Hmm.
not as much inventory.
Right.
So I mean, people were basically trying to buy whatever they could,
Yeah, that's true.
and
That's
then all of
true.
a
They
sudden
realistically were. Yeah.
got a huge influx of inventory,
Hmm.
and meant something for a while, but that drop off, like basically, I'm guessing a lot of dealerships and stuff are like, well, I don't know if they're holding on to a lot of inventory that they can't get rid of or what, but yeah.
That's what it seems like. I have to imagine the amount of cars just sitting on lots right now, not moving. From which was interesting because just this time, maybe a year ago, we were seeing dealerships that were empty. They couldn't get a car.
Hmm.
They couldn't fill their cars. Like the supply chain shock has been almost kind of like reminds you like when you fold out a carpet, you know what I mean? There's like ripple effect. It's like
Hmm.
it was like this crazy ripple of like, oh, we have no vehicles to now we're oversaturated vehicles so quickly.
Hmm.
The situation has just changed so fast that most people can't even wrap their heads around what just happened. It's
Yeah.
not
Dealerships
normal.
were willing to pay almost like a premium for used cars just so they could have cars on the lot to sell.
Right. That's crazy. What a different situation that is. If I had a car to sell at the time, that would have been a great time to do it for
Which
sure.
probably attributed more to the bubble.
Yes. And how much that changed, and that's just changed everything. And then um as we're seeing right now too, uh you know now a lot of these companies are starting to get a little bit desperate in terms of like trying to get the sales. The one that people kind of touch on a lot would be Tesla. Obviously it's probably the most popular car at the moment, and then we're seeing a discount happen here in Tesla. I mean, so as we see, I have the economic ninja here and a very unflattering screen cap here.
Mhm.
If he ever sees that, I apologize. Yeah, I blame YouTube for that one. But I think he makes a good point when it comes to the Teslas right now and the discount. So we'll let that play.
Yes.
But I thought I'd talk to you about the collapse in the auto market, and Tesla is proving it right now. How do we know they're proving it? Is because anytime someone decides to offer a discount, there's issues. All right. And this shouldn't be anything new. Why? Elon Musk himself said that the auto industry is coming down and there could be some real big bumpy roads. And this was based off of responses to some tweets that he put in, right? He would tweet out. And
And to that point in itself, honestly, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's just, if we're seeing a discount in the most popular vehicle out there right now, Tesla is like it's almost iconic in a sense. That tells you that we can see the projected sales looks like a very downward slope here.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Oh, but the question is, will that affect prices for the 20 anything coming out in 2023?
That really is the question. In a sense, it with inflation raising up the way it is, it's almost like if car prices even just stall at this point, then they are in a sense going down if inflation is going up. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So at this point, that seems to be what are we gonna see in 2023? Are we actually gonna see depreciating value? Are we just gonna see like a flat lining of value essentially
Yeah.
while
Basically,
inflation keeps going?
prices catching up with time or time catching up with prices, whatever.
Right, exactly. It's about time reality came back into this. And I think this is kind of the what's interesting with this crisis that the auto industry seems to be really the indicator of where everything kind of went wrong because the housing industry still hasn't really fully caught up to the effect of the COVID crisis because of things like um um we call when people couldn't be eviction moratorium and
Oh, yeah.
whatnot.
Hmm.
Whereas that played a major factor. Well, the auto industry got back into like servicing your auto loan much quicker than
Hmm.
like the housing industry. So now we're watching like the ripple effect from the COVID lockdowns really come into the economy, and people who were shook by that moment are clearly showing they were not ready for something like this, and now are really reaching difficult financial straits. Honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, I can only imagine how many people are a bit underwater because, you know, with the lockdowns, like, you weren't making any money, so it was either hope you got your unemployment check, or if that source was completely dry, like you basically, if you own your home, you're basically taking out equity just to fucking try to
Yeah.
try to live.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I mean, obviously, with rates as low as they were, you know, for refinancing at that time too, kind of made sense. You know, a lot of people,
Hmm.
if you had equity in a home, you were probably in the best situation of anyone at that point. It was like,
Oh,
well, at least
especially
I have
last
something I
year
can
with
do
how
to.
high the prices got.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. If you took out some home equity, then you definitely probably made out as best you're gonna do in this whole situation we're seeing here.
mhm.
Um, you know,
And
it's crazy. But I mean, if you took that and put a down payment on a car that you now can't afford to pay the payment on, well, I sounds a lot like '08 again in some ways.
oh yeah, this is very reminiscent of the whole way. You got people paying for cars they can't afford,
Mm-hmm.
but yet they're delinquent, but yet they haven't haven't been repossessed, like they haven't been taken away from me just yet. Like it's like something like just something that's building and building. It's gonna like it's not gonna
Right.
implode. It's gonna like straight up just like blow up in everybody's faces.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one day when things become fully unserviceable, you know, things just change, you know, and man, you know, there's especially in this coming system that we think we're seeing here and like in terms of like central bank digital currencies and how everything's going to be monitored to carry a heavy debt load. It just kind of feels like the setup for Squid Games, you know what I mean, or Hunger Games or something like that. It just kind of feels like something like that's coming here.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, almost feels, I don't want to say inevitable, but like, yeah, because I mean, with so many people, there's so many people who are, I mean, there's already enough people who are like 90 days
Yeah.
overdue, but
Yeah.
like now there's like so many people that are 6 months overdue. Like it's just like impossible to even catch up, and
Yeah. Once you've
they're
hit
gonna be
that point,
stuck
you're
like trying to fucking find, some group of rich men who are willing to pay for
just
some form of lethal entertainment,
oh man, it's
whether it's surviving the game or Squid Game or Hunger Games. It's something that you're paying with your life.
so I guess if you are underwater in your car, the one advantage is you can start focusing on running and biking everywhere to get your cardio up for the incoming survival games that we will
Hmm.
be participating in.
Yeah,
Oh wow,
there
that's
was so many
wild.
movies that are like that have that kind of theme. It's like shit. That shit. I mean, it could be happening already. We just don't know that. I mean, that shit like that's usually entertainment for the rich.
Yeah, kinda, and it does kind of feel like uh maybe they're just getting us familiar with the idea so that it
Mm.
just, you know, we normalize it once it's here, which it
Hmm.
doesn't feel like we're far off from at this point.
Yeah. No, not at all, dude. I know.
Right.
I mean, you got to feel like I'm sure there are so many people that are that desperate where they're willing to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Especially if you're, you know what I mean? Like you think of the big three, which is like your mortgage, an auto loan, and a student loan. If you got like, you know, I don't know, however much, you know, let's call it like quarter quarter mil in all those, you know what I mean? And you bring in, you know, 70K a year, yeah, you might consider actually like, well, if I survive, but then I'm out of debt, you know, that might actually be the trade-off some people see here.
Hmm.
Craziness, man.
Yeah,
Craziness.
it is, dude.
Ah,
This is
man.
crazy how this all started too. Like, hold on, let me bring up
Mhm.
a video real quick because there's someone named Stoic Finance. He actually goes over. Where's it? He goes over like basically goes over how this all started about
Right.
what was it? Yeah, 2 years ago.
It's crazy. It's been 2 years, huh? It's just, you know. Oh, yeah. Anyways, yeah, let's hear this.
Will start? Well, from 2020 onwards, we saw new and used car prices like we'd never seen before. Standard new vehicles were being sent off to dealerships with recommended retail prices of maybe $50,000, but the stickers being slapped on their windshields were often 10, 20, or even 30% higher than that. People were buying 3-year-old Toyota Camrys, driving them for 10,000 miles, and then selling them for a $5,000 profit. Used car
Yes.
prices across the United States
Wild.
rose by an average of 8.4% for 2020, and then they went and rose by another 32.5% throughout 2021. If you
Okay, see, I didn't know it was that big of a jump.
That's insane. That's insane, because it takes away
Holy
all
shit.
the principles that of like car ownership. Like cars don't appreciate, you know what I mean? Like they
Mhm,
depreciate with use and mile, and you're literally getting and you're getting to use the car and then sell it for a profit is insane.
mhm,
That's but that really does prove something though. It proves the supply chain. People really underestimate how serious all this supply chain shock really is. They take a lot of it for granted because when push comes to shove and things aren't available, you will see things that you're like, why in the world would I pay for that? All of a sudden become incredibly valuable when you do not have a substitute or an option. You know, that's again, in a sense, some of my motivation in terms of getting into the phone repair and reselling industry, because I really feel like with the situation in China and with all the semiconductor manufacturers having so much, trouble there with their policies right now. I really see that there could be a real window for that here in the States in
mhm.
terms of like, reselling these phones and whatnot. And I think that's the same thing with cars. It's like as the supply went down, you saw all of a sudden a used car was worth so much because you needed something. It's crazy to watch everything just go up on its head and then
Yeah,
flip again and then flip again.
yeah. And then it started getting to a point where so many people were actually like, just buying a car just to flip. But then like,
Hmm.
and then YouTuber after YouTuber is talking about it. Like, hey, you should just instead of investing in the market or Bitcoin, just fucking buy a car and flip it and
Hmm.
sell it. And it's like, but
Hmm.
then started getting to a point where people were starting to do that, but then they couldn't get rid of the car, and
Yep.
then they were stuck with the car.
It's exactly like in '08 when people were flipping homes that way. You know what I mean? They were purchasing a home just to, put their 50 grand of, renovations in it to try and sell it for another, 100 grand profit.
Mhm.
And it was like at some point that game can't continue. You know what I mean? It just can't keep building this way,
Mhm. Speaking of which,
and yeah,
have you seen anyone promoting any sort of house flipping at all on YouTube or
I'm not really
uh,
seeing that nearly as
Instagram or
much as I
anything?
was before.
Gee, I
I was
wonder
seeing a lot of
why.
house flip before. Yeah,
And
I'm
a
seeing it
lot of those
now.
people are like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about the recession. You can still make money flipping houses and blah blah
Hmm.
blah." Next thing you know, oh well, how about buying my course on how to flip houses
Right. Yeah.
or
Yeah,
get
no, that
recession ready?
recession ready. That game is definitely changing for sure.
Hmm.
I do like Erica Williams' approach because she talks a lot about buying land lots and developing them
Yeah,
and building and I think that really is actually the smartest way to probably approach all of this. I very much find that business model makes sense in downward times because there's so many things that are profitable when things are good. You can make anything profitable when things are good, but when things are tough, only the meaningful things will be profitable. That really will shake out what is and isn't a good business model.
yes,
And this car flipping game is definitely not going to be the business model of the future. Um, maybe taking broken down cars and really rebuilding it
mhm,
entirely and then reselling. But that's a whole different thing than
yeah.
just buying and flipping. People just want to get that quick money. I
But it
think
could
quick
get
money's
bigger though,
gone.
because with the rise of EV cars, people like you're gonna still have that group that's gonna want to keep you know, combu- uh, a normal internal combustion engine car, and
Right.
so you got to figure maybe next 5, 10 years that'll definitely be a big thing. Like
Yeah.
actually, like real car flipping, not just buying a fucking Toyota Camry, driving it for like fucking 100 miles and fucking flipping it for 10 grand.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but you gotta think too, especially here in California where I'm at, um, it's gonna be illegal to own and sell a combustion engine car. I think was it 2028? They were suggesting like there'd be no more
That was like
um
2035 or something like that, 2034.
2035. It was a little bit further off, I
I
guess.
think so, or maybe I
Be-
think so.
that's kind of crazy, like because that really I really think that the combustion engine market, if everything's going to go to EV and renewables and everything, um the combustion engine market could really just become like the new independent guy flipping things kind of market. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be through a formal industry anymore. The EV market will probably be just like the auto market is now, but
Hmm.
a combustion engine market could really become like the new hustlers, like place to be.
Yeah.
Um, but I wonder too. It's like, will you get fined if you get caught driving one on the road at some point? Because if it ever going to happen anywhere here in California,
Hmm.
that would be where it starts.
It'll definitely lead to that point, in California first, because that's where it's gonna go big first with the whole EV
Yes.
thing. I mean, they're really big on, like, they have really really strict what is it, strict rules when it comes to a lot of their freaking anything like environment related
Yeah. No.
to
No.
the environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like it's crazy. But yeah, no, fucking. So wait, is California like the leading, like, you know show of example of where things are going to go possibly for the entire
Oh,
country?
absolutely. I really think that a good indicator of what the goal is for most of the country seems to be what California is. That's why we, have all these like, oh God, everything is about, the environment and climate change and everything here. And, while, there's just to be said about what's important and whatnot, it just really becomes like the policies here, I think, are what they're trying to implement
Hmm.
nationwide. And we're gonna export a lot of our problems here if we do that. I guarantee you. There's a reason why there's a major outflux for California. A lot of us who grew up here just,
Hmm.
man, it's frustrating. I don't know how else to put it. It is frustrating.
It's kind of funny they have all these restrictions, but they're probably the state is probably like the number one net user of fucking private planes.
Like it's the hypocrisy does not, lost upon me. It's just like watching our governor, have his it was a winery that he had open, when everyone else is shut down in California,
Hmm.
having gatherings with people not wearing masks when everyone else wasn't allowed to. This state is full of hypocrisy, and the last couple of years have really shown that for sure. And yeah, I really think that this is what they're trying to implement as like progress for the rest of the country. And I have a feeling that the EV policy of California, they'll probably implement the hardest here. You'll probably be seeing it in a state near you.
Shit, I'm gonna stay here.
Uh, yeah, man, I get it. There's a reason why all of us here are coming to you right now.
Yeah, no, like a lot of like basically people are freaking fleeing from the policies being implemented, and it's like
Yeah.
even like it's like the governor doesn't even realize that he still thinks that like people, oh yeah, people love living here, they left the laws, let them fucking pass it, so let's keep going.
It's hard to know what the commoner goes through when you live in ivory towers, right?
Mm,
I
too
think
true.
our state's a great example of that expression for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. Uh but yeah, enough ragging on California. We could make a whole podcast about that because God knows I'd be endless about it. But yeah, this is the oh no, this is the one we just watched. So I know
Yeah.
there's another one that you want us to watch too from Stephen Van Meter as well
Oh yeah, the Bomb
on this
King.
is also.
And I want you to be thinking as we go through the article today how it's fixated on the consumer. This is the consumer's problem. They're the ones who took on all this debt. They're the ones who can't make the payment. They're the ones who are dealing with inflation.
That's one thing I've noticed too. The media has a tendency to really blame the consumer for a lot of
Right.
like predatory practices that some of these people will do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I really feel like the average person doesn't understand sometimes the extent of what they're signing on. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times in housing. We've seen it before in generally and speaking in credit. We've obviously seen it in student loan crisis. Absolutely in the auto loan crisis. I think there's a lot of people who don't realize what they're getting into with a
Yeah.
lot of these loans that they're signing up for. And it's a very predatory industry. I'm not a
Mhm.
fan of it personally. And
I
yeah, the
think
people are the ones getting screwed.
Yeah, and I think we were set up for it because I mean, like in that post I sent you and Francis a while back about how basically with the like there's two different American English languages. You have the one that we're taught in school, and then you have the ones that's written in a lot of
Hmm.
contracts and whatnot, which is basically
Exactly.
law English basically.
Yeah, yeah. That's the two things we're not taught that are actually the most important things that we should be taught is both law and finance. If you can think of two things that are more relevant to your day-to-day life, you know what I mean? Like understanding at least on a basic level, like
Yeah,
what a legal contract looks like and what you're signing on, or what a
being
fine.
able to understand the language in it.
Yeah, that's just so. And most people are just kind of they don't even read any of it. They just see like, okay, so I just sign here and I agree to this, and I get to drive off in this today, and it's like, well, yeah. And now we're seeing, like I said, the ripple back people who aren't able to afford their payment anymore, who are 90 days delinquent. Um, it's gonna be a tsunami wave, just like in '08 when the recession really started. You saw a lot of people default on their auto loans then as well, or their
Yeah,
leases also. So, and it took I think till about 2011 because in like 2008 2009 I think that's when like the actual stock market bottomed. But it was 2011 2000 or so that like housing and auto I believe bottomed.
yeah.
Yeah, so it just takes longer. It takes a few years, which
Mhm.
if you think about it.
Well, I mean, you got to think the stock market bottomed quick because of QE.
True, actually, you got a point there because it wasn't like there was direct QE put out there just like for mortgages. You know what I mean? Like the Fed's
Hmm.
gonna like pay your mortgage so that you're whatever.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is
God,
what the
wouldn't
normal
that
people
that
would
would
that was the bailout that people needed.
that actually probably would have helped the economy a lot more to be completely honest, but that wasn't the goal, if you
Nope,
ask me. You know,
not at all. Let us
not at
continue.
all. But yeah, no, that's a good point. The QE it gave a false. I said it too. That QE gives a false interpretation of what a recession looks like. We didn't see a real recession. We were able to quickly, gloss over it. But we still had ripple effects where like stock market went down and bounced back after QE money, and then the housing market and the auto market definitely tanked as well. Took a little bit longer and then started climbing
Mhm.
back up to before, and now we're at a point where we've QE'd ourselves in this corner. We've QE'd ourselves into these record high housing prices, record high auto prices. I mean, like bell curve, man. We've hit the top of the bell curve. We're clearly on a downward slope. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure. It just does not. It looks ugly for 2023, but that also is if you're someone who's been waiting for this moment, there could be good opportunity coming to you.
Yeah,
Especially if we start seeing like the Carvanas, the CarMaxes really start to fold over. All that inventory goes on the market. That changes everything.
even Hertz is getting into some trouble right now. Actually, I don't know if you heard
Yeah,
about that. I guess
I haven't heard about new thing. No.
they've been giving out rental, not giving out, but like renting out cars that haven't been like maintained or repaired.
Wow, really?
Hmm. This is after being
Yeah,
saved by a bunch of retail investors before like from being saved from
yeah,
bankruptcy.
right.
Yeah, but
That's
yeah,
crazy, man.
right.
Just crazy.
Yeah, let's continue this.
Mhm.
And that is where the story starts. What they are not talking about, and what we will see in the months to come, is how this is going to become a problem for the banks. Now, a lot of people ask me, Steve, do you think the banks are going to make it through the financial crisis or the next one? And the answer is, I don't. And primarily, the banks I think that are in trouble are your small, mid sized banks, your credit unions, your community banks. And why is that? They're the ones who've done a ton of car loans. And when you start to put this in perspective, of as people start to get their cars repossessed, where are they going to go? They're going to go back to the banks. And do the banks need to turn their parking lots into a showroom? Not at all. They're going to find themselves with too many cars. They're going to find themselves upside down, and they're going to be in a position where they're desperate to unload them, and there aren't going to be any buyers. Let's over to NBC where we picked today's story up.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's honestly a very good point. You
Mhm.
know, and I never even considered the fact that yeah, it is mostly credit unions and smaller banks that do auto loans.
I didn't think about that
That
fact
people find
either.
so,
So this, but yeah.
and that makes perfect sense because you know who gets the bailouts? It's your JP Morgans. You know what I mean? It's not your local credit union. You know, we might even see a lot of these credit unions, smaller banks start closing over this, and then your only banking option becomes these major banks that we all know
Mhm.
about. And then, of course, you know, if we see a ripple effect where liquidity starts drying up because all these banks are closing, you know, because all these loans are being defaulted on,
Mhm.
um, that might be where the central bank digital currency really steps in.
Mhm.
That would make sense as a moment where that gets implemented as a way of like offsetting the like liquidity crisis. Like, look, we just create direct liquidity. You know, you just have to have a bank account with, you know, a Wells Fargo or a JP Morgan,
Mhm.
and then you get this. And but that's the thing, that changes the whole landscape of just personal finance entirely, honestly.
It does. I have a question. Like, so with your part time, like, do you know when they submit payroll at all? Or
I mean, no, I'm not entirely sure about that, to be honest.
yeah, okay. Because I think because so something I've noticed for the past maybe month or so,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the banks are already starting to use the Fed Now system.
Hmm.
Because
Okay.
so usually, you know, you've worked for AMA, so you know, we usually
Yeah.
get paid on Fridays.
Yeah. I remember that.
Payroll gets submitted on Wednesdays.
Hmm. Okay.
And something I've noticed is that I've actually my pay's been coming in on usually about like Wednesday evenings.
Oh, really? You're
Yeah.
getting paid way faster now.
Hmm.
Huh.
So I'm
That's
wondering if things
interesting.
are getting processed a whole lot faster, and then you know what I mean? Because that's what the Fed system, Fed Now system is about, like you know, transfers and processing getting being a whole lot
Right.
faster, almost instantaneous.
Right. Right. Which is, you know, where everything else on the internet with money basically is at this point, with the
Hmm.
exception of things like payrolls and, you know,
Yeah. Jeez. You
it's
think like
crazy.
it took Bitcoin being invented to be like, oh, so we should start doing instant transfer now. So transfers now. Okay.
It's like we could have made this happen at any point. I swear to God, the technology's been here
Hmm.
for far longer than crypto has been around. It
Yeah.
just it would like the old industry wouldn't change what it was, you know. To me, it kind of feels like the whole work from home thing that's really started. It's like, you
Hmm.
know, like all these office jobs, we knew that a lot of them could be worked from your laptop
Yeah.
anywhere. Honestly, you did not need to be in this office. And then, you know, after the change we had, that kind of proved it and kind of just put it in motion.
Yeah.
Seems like that's what, you know, crypto and Bitcoin in particular really did is, you know, change that perception. And now we're going to see this digital currency system. But the thing is that, you know, when it's controlled like this through like the Fed Now system, sure, this is all just nice and convenient for right now. What happens 5 years from now when this is fully implemented? And then now we have the Fed having direct control to basically everyone's wallets.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's very worrisome because it could like we always talk about could lead to something where you know you say even the smallest slight, and then bam, they take away all your money. You can't pay your bills, or not even take away your money. They lock your account, and
Right.
or you know lock or freeze your account, and you know you're trying to pay your bill, and the payment doesn't go through because your money's been frozen.
Yeah. That's really a way of putting a person into bondage without like chaining them up directly, financially tying them up so they can't do anything, they can't make a purchase, they can't make moves in their life without permission.
Yeah.
That I mean that's really basically in a sense slavery. Really is. You can't run your own life at that point. I think it's dangerous too. I think it's dangerous that it gets to that point. And the fact that the ripple effect of like people defaulting on their loans, defaulting on their debt, could really lead to the implementation of the central bank digital currency system, which, you know, Fed Now system is basically the trial launch of it,
Hmm.
essentially. And then to see that, move into a direction where things are under control. I know this sounds crazy to a lot of people, but if you put it on a time frame of say 10 years, this is absolutely possible. And honestly, I would say even likely at this rate with what we're seeing right now.
Oh yeah, I mean they're already doing pilot tests on the CBDC,
Mhm.
which to me tells me they've already tested it. They're just getting ready to implement it.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
basically trying, they're not getting ready, but making plans to find a way to implement it and find a way to normalize it in people's minds.
Like what moment does this make like sense for everyone to get on board with it? And I think there'll be like a major shock moment. That'll probably it. Just
Mass
like what we
unemployment.
saw. Yeah, mass unemployment starts. I mean, as we start watching the ripple effect of this, because even like to tie it back to just like say the auto loan crisis, we start seeing more and more of these dealerships close. There's less and less jobs. You're not even talking just the car salesman who makes the commission. You're talking people who just answer the phones, people who clean up the place, the porters
Mechanics.
who, yeah, mechanics, the guys who drive and set up the cars. I used to be a car photographer 10 years ago. I used to go to dealerships, take pictures, and put it up on their website basically for the postings. There's all kinds of roles that you'll see and it'll be a ripple effect where just more and more closure, more and more struggle with the average person. That will really set the stage for something like Fed now and a central bank currency, digital currency that um gives it like a red carpet almost. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
just comes to save you at that point. The new UBI in a sense.
Yeah, I think that's how they basically go about implementing UBI.
Hmm.
It's via CBDC Fed now. Because I mean, what's more appealing than free money that you can get instantaneously with just by owning a FedNow wallet and
Right.
yeah, behaving.
Right. And behaving. Yes. You know what I mean? That's really the scariest thing is can you now have money taken away from you, because that's really it right now, because people get say canceled on social media. You can like socially be ostracized, and you know what I mean, if this can happen to you, yeah, but unless you're someone who puts all your information, you can't be financially touched with the exception of losing your job obviously in some situations. But if you're say an entrepreneur of your own sorts, they can't really touch you. If you own it, they can't really touch you. But this could be a situation in which, just like in China, where they have the social credit score, that could be something that really comes over here in that form.
Mhm.
That's really what it takes first, is because right now they, in a sense, the government can't really just, I mean, go into your bank account and just withhold your money. I mean, they could if they really wanted to, but at this
Yeah.
point, they couldn't do it to scale where they can get you for minor offenses. That would be such a ordeal at this point with where with the system as now. That wouldn't happen. But this is absolutely something that could be possible when everything's on a Fed connected system. With Fed servers and Fed data points that like control everything. You
Hmm.
know.
And like, and they already have the means to track everything. I mean, look at Experian.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
were able to track people who fucking like they use their own system to track people in their own company to see who took on like a second job, and then they use that to assess
Hmm.
who was working hard enough for them. Like, so I
Yep.
mean, if they can do that, they can use fucking Experian. The government can use Experian to fucking see who's been behaving.
Yeah. Who's been behaving? You've been a good boy. Yeah, no, that's the big data dystopian future is definitely a major concern to myself, to you, to a lot of people that value personal freedom, because you can just kind of see where this is heading. It's a culmination of like all the different, dystopian tales that we read, 1984, Brave New World, et cetera, et cetera. Just really given the modern take on it. And it really is worrisome. Like as long as you can control your own finances, you can become free. Because if you,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing when people talk freedom, it's financial freedom. The goal in life is financial freedom, because
Mhm.
once you achieve that, then you can just go live and you don't have to worry about this. But if you're not given a way of getting your own freedom, you're always adhering to the system. Well, sir, that's that's the new form of slavery right there. And then your wallet is the way they keep you in line for the modern day, concentration camp, which is the technological system that monitors you essentially.
You think do you think if they wanted to do like a modern day concentration camp, they just fucking force you to be in meta for long periods of time?
Just you have to put on the goggles and like yeah.
And there's a
I mean, I
concentration camp in there, and like you just fucking you take off those goggles, and you fucking they shoot you.
and here you are. It's interesting because I can't remember what it was, like a poet from an older poet I was reading a quote about, and he was talking about how people in New York City, what I mean, don't leave New York City even though it's so dismal, the conditions
Oh,
they live in.
I remember
Did
seeing
you
something
share
about
that,
that.
or was that
I don't
maybe
know if
I
I
can't
shared
remember?
that or if you shared that with us, but I remember I know what you're talking about. It was
Yeah. And it's like because like the concentration camp was built in a way that you don't even see it, you know what I mean? Which I almost do feel like our modern cities do in a sense feel like that.
it's
I mean how cambered up we are at this point,
it's the
it's
like sort
insane.
of 15-minute rule, or like basically trying to make it like New York's built in a way where you can access a lot of things within 15 minutes of where you're living.
Mhm.
You need to go to this fucking store, 15-minute walk. You need to go to fucking work, 15-minute walk, or 15-minute
Walk, right.
subway right? So on and so forth. So I mean, like,
Mhm.
and like basically, why would you want to leave that if everything's within 15 minutes of where you live? Like that's
Mhm.
yeah, your own personal prison, your own like that's yeah,
Yeah,
your own
absolutely. They
personal concentration camp. Oh,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And they get a lot of us just caught in that cycle. They really get a lot of people caught in the cycle of day to day just accepting being in the same like 5 mile radius at all
mhm,
times. They just kind of do that to you. And I do feel like, the goal is to become free of that and actually go
mhm,
into the world. And I do wonder, yeah, because obviously people in China don't have that ability to right now.
yeah.
Um,
Because you don't have to be like a complete nomad or anything. Because even just like moving away from your hometown to a different state and fucking starting
mhm.
new, that would be a completely like that'd be a completely different thing. You know what I mean? You're like you that like I always feel like people who have actually done that do better than people who just stay townies.
Right, right. And stay stuck there forever. Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah,
you stay stuck somewhere where you are. You like you sit with the same people, I mean, which is fine and everything. But if you're not meeting anybody new or anything like that, you're not really like anybody that who could possibly teach you something different or show you something different. You're not
yes.
really. You're kind of staying stagnant. You're not giving yourself a chance to grow.
No, that's 100% it because when I left California, obviously I came Vegas, I made my new life there, new connections. When I came back to California, uh, I'm so sorry. I think my roommate's drone just crashed. I think I just heard that.
Oh,
One sec.
yeah.
Let's just pick that right back.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, one of the biggest parts for me in terms of personal growth was, I was in California. I went to Vegas. I started a new life. I came back home. I saw some of the same people again. I saw some of the same lifestyle again. And about a year later, that's when I got into martial arts. I met new people, which opened me up to even becoming securities licensed when I was, that was a connection made directly from going to meet new people at my gym, a new environment that got my new mindset. The people I built the phone repair company with are also people I met after I came back to California. You know what I mean? Not just the same childhood friends. I always have a soft spot in my heart for some of my long term friends, of course, but I realize some of them aren't good for me just with the lifestyle they live.
Yeah.
I don't want to get caught in that. That's a big thing for people. It's just not
Mhm.
get so stuck. And I think most people, you're right. If they don't have the ability to pick up and move in their life, which a system like this, I mean, we're talking about a central bank digital currency, but really we're talking about a social credit mechanism.
Mhm.
If that really happens and people aren't allowed to, freely move, you'll never grow past that person, and you'll never know what you could become.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge for people.
Oh yeah. No, it is like because I noticed because for me, I've lived here my whole life, so I know that I have that sense every now and then.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I've lucked out because I've had new people come into my life, like, all
Mm-hmm.
you, like, you and fucking Francis and
Right. Yeah.
even like, even Jason and
Mm-hmm.
basically a lot of people from AMA and shit like that. So it's like I feel like I still got that sense of like um of someone who's been able to fucking, leave their hometown and then fucking come back in a sense because like, I was able to like, meet these new people and learn new things and gain new perspectives
Right.
on so many different things. So like, but at the same time, I still feel like I do need to fucking at some point fucking leave and get out there and fucking actually gain a new perspective from just from a fucking different town standpoint.
Absolutely.
You know
No,
what I
I get
mean?
it. I get it. You know what I mean? Just breaks that routine, gets you away from. I mean, like I always love my parents too, but it was great to have some time away from them to really develop who I was. You know what I mean? Like that's another thing too. Like I get it. And personally, my next goal is being on the island in the middle of Pacific Ocean there
Yeah,
and starting a new life there next. That would be definitely the goal.
we almost did Christmas there. Kind of glad we didn't. I don't know if you saw
Oh
the
yeah.
storms.
Oh, I did not. Oh, really?
It got pretty bad, dude.
You
When I
know, I
saw that,
was
I was
there
like, "Holy
last
crap, we
year.
were almost in that."
That's wild. I was there last year too, around this time for
Hmm.
Christmas. And yeah, I remember it was beautiful out. I loved it. Every day was so nice, it was like 70 degrees and just very, very light showers like, Hawaii normally has and whatnot.
Hmm.
And um I would very with the exception of all the restrictions that were there, um at that time, it was a very awesome trip. So to think that this if I had gone this year instead, when things were like kind of like more normal and reopened, sounds like it would have been a terrible trip.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's still like that, but like, yeah, there were a few days like the hurricanes were around. It's like, whoa, like the
Mm,
winds were crazy, dude. And I was like, damn.
no, thank you. I'm not
Hmm.
trying to be in Hawaii and stuck not being able to go outside. That is definitely not it. Definitely not it, man. Oh, looks like we kind of taking a little trail off course here, but no problem on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if it all kind of ties in some sense, you know what I mean? It's all about life. So,
Hmm.
a little bit of a perspective here and then that. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the auto loan crisis that we're seeing though, I think the big thing that you and I both want to emphasize is that there's a lot of opportunity here. This is what
Hmm.
people in 2023, this is what I'm hoping to do. Me personally, I'm looking to finance a vehicle for my phone repair business, to get a work van,
Hmm.
really set up the Fix Pros work van and not just be running out the back of my car like we're doing
Yeah.
now.
So are you
So
trying to get
I
like
see a
new?
lot of good use that could come here.
Yeah. Are you trying to get? Are you guys looking to get like something new, like an Econoline? Or are you looking like do you have like a U-Haul thing near you or whatever? Because I think sometimes I think
Hmm.
they had I think they like sometimes sell their older vehicles, like their older
Oh,
trucks and stuff like
really?
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean a van like that would be just fine. That's
Hmm.
all I would really need. It's
Yeah.
yeah, really just yeah, a van to be able to set up equipment, have a desk to really sit at. It's
Oh, there you
not
go.
much different. Yeah, it's not much different than what my dad does in the locksmith business too. It's really the same general idea. It's you have a van, some equipment back there, and you get to work. And yeah, that's really the goal right now. And I'm really hoping 2023 business credits established for my business, and we could finance a car right
Hmm.
through that to run through that. So that's and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people like that. I have business desires with it, but even personal. If you were looking to finally upgrade your
Hmm.
vehicle, you know what I mean. I think there's going to be a lot of good opportunities coming up here.
Oh, definitely. And even not just an upgrade. If you're just like things just got out of hand for the past few years and you haven't been able to afford something, like hopefully within the next year or so, used car prices are coming down and
Hmm.
they should be a hell of a lot more reasonable than they have been fucking the
Yeah,
past year or so. So I mean, if you're in the market for if you're in the market for a vehicle in general, like there's a huge opportunity that could be showing up within the next 6 to 18 months.
yeah, that definitely sounds like the time frame here, mid 2023. I think because right now I feel like everyone's kind of like it's like it's like a giant wave is coming onto shore. Like we're in
Hmm.
Hawaii right now, and we're looking at a giant wave because Godzilla's coming out, and you
Yeah.
see the wave coming, but it hasn't hit yet. And you're like, oh, that looks wild, you know, and it's gonna hit in 2023. And
Yeah.
then the real impact of it will be felt through 2023, 2024. By
Hmm.
2025, my God, I really think that we're gonna look back at right now and go like, oh wow, that was a much better time than what we're experiencing now.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, because with the fucking with the the whole Fed rate hikes and stuff like that, because I mean they've already explained that they plan on going above 5%,
Right,
but by the sound of it, it looks like they plan on after that, like by the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, they do plan on either possibly reversing the rate hikes and start lowering interest rates again, which could lead to things getting even worse, inflation
right.
running even more rampant than it was before, and then just a complete depression.
Right, absolutely. You know, you got to think too. It's almost a very strategic move in terms of like the Fed, in way they do rates, because right now they're letting inflation run rampant. The inflation runs up, so as things inflate, you know that pretty much makes the debt that's been accumulated up less valuable because obviously
Mhm,
like the value of the money's going down.
mhm,
You let the inflation run rampant to the point where only the rich people can afford anything. And then once you get to the point where only those people can afford anything, then you lower rates so they can now borrow and buy all those things at a lower rate,
mhm.
with that inflated price that the average person can't touch on. I mean, it seems like the have and have nots feudal system is right around the corner. The
Yeah.
middle class is a brand new thing. And it's not something that's always existed. In fact, for most of human history, this has never existed. And I think we're about to lose it once again.
Oh yeah. Very much so. Like I think it's still going to be a bit of a slow and steady process, just because it's become one of those things where it's not just like the middle class is being demolished. Like the people who are above the middle class are slowly sliding down
Hmm.
back into the middle class just because of inflation.
Yes. Yes. Like a lower rich, you know what I mean? Like literally if you're below seven figures, you're at risk right now. Realistically, even in the like $1 million range, there are people who are really at risk right now, with all the
Mhm,
changes that are happening at the moment. So it's a really crazy time. It really is. And
mhm.
I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity, though. That's really what I try and focus on. That's what
Yeah.
keeps me motivated through everything is I focus on the fact that this is where like, um, what's the analogy? Like the one that would like store up for winter and oh, it's like the ant and the,
So, and
oh
in the
God.
cricket.
I think so, yeah, and, like, the ant would always be storing up for winter, the cricket would not, and then,
Hmm.
when the winter came, the cricket came looking for the ant for food. I think if we're about to enter those kind of times, instead of being terrified that that's gonna happen, start being the ant, you know what I mean? Stop being wasteful, stop not thinking about it, stop not, just accept it, face it, and then if anything, your life could become significantly better because of the changes
Hmm.
that will happen. Unfortunately, I don't want to come at another person's expense, but this is the wave that's happening.
Yeah.
And you not taking care of yourself and creating a better life for yourself won't help another person from ruining themselves. Their ruin has
Hmm.
nothing to do with your success,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know?
So don't keep,
So
yeah, so don't keep, another person's bad fortune or bad luck, keep you from wanting to actually achieve something or go for
yeah,
something. Because I mean, if
absolutely.
the opportunity came for them, they would probably do the same thing.
They would, and they absolutely did. You have to think a lot of people who over leverage themselves really got themselves caught up in situations. This is once again, like I said, the good time versus bad time scenario, or as Robert Kiyosaki put it in Rich Dad Poor Dad, the peacetime and wartime leaders. The peacetime leaders, the good times. These are, this is when the tactics of leveraging yourself up to your eyeballs make sense. This is the time where, you know what I mean, you can live lavishly and just kind of have balance and not have to be so responsible with everything. And then when you're in wartime, the hard times are here. That's when it's important to now shift your mindset to that. I think I'm someone who's always been mentally a wartime type person. I think honestly, Stephen, with the way that you think too, I think you as well. We're both very rational people, and we're now entering the era where I think this is where people like us will do well. You know, the Grant Cardone himself will be fine, but the Grant Cardone types who are trying to become him right now, I think they're going to have trouble because I think that the game is changing right now,
Hmm.
and I think the strategy to take is now changing as well.
Yeah, that's actually the problem too with a lot of people who follow these influencers. They mainly like just follow that influencer and just go
Mm-hmm.
by what they do. They don't try to figure out different things that could, like, what's that whole thing? You should never put your all your eggs in one basket.
Eggs in one basket, absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, if you
You
can
know,
try to learn as many different, not as many for different things as you can, but just like a handful of different things that that
yeah,
you
be
can
useful to you.
turn, yeah, that are useful to you and that you can turn to at different times to just to maximize your success.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Right now, the most valuable thing you can get is knowledge, because I that's really as things change, the more knowledge you have, the more ability you'll have to pivot with it.
Hmm.
That's the most important thing, and just
Getting your finances
don't
straight.
you get your finances straight. Try to keep things good. And like I said, Grant Cardone's gonna be fine. I'm not talking any smack on him. That man is going to be absolutely fine through whatever
Hmm.
happens here.
Yeah.
But don't think that strategy is gonna work the same way it did before. Don't think that um Oh, I mean, like you can think of tons of influence out there who have all these strategies, and I mean, I nothing to that, nothing against them, and a lot of the
Mhm.
strategies probably still have merit, but I think there's just a very different approach for that people should take right now, which is a lot more defensive
Yeah.
and a lot more just ready to move with the flow that comes.
Hmm. Because what a lot of people don't understand, like influencers pushing these strategies, like they probably like they probably have already pivoted like months ago, and they're just
Hmm.
pushing. Their main concern is just pushing a product, and if the product's still doing good, they're gonna keep pushing that
Exactly.
product until they see a drop, and then that's when they pivot and move on to something else.
Exactly. We're not all going to become financially free, unfortunately. Like the system wasn't built for us all to be.
Mhm.
It's not a flaw. It's an inherent quality of the game. And
Mhm.
just keep in mind that these people might be selling you something that won't free you, but it's freeing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something that was just, it's good to inform yourself and become educated in the financial landscape, all mediums of it. At least have some understanding and be able to touch on a lot of things because in times like this, having the right knowledge can be what saves you. And
Hmm.
that's what we hope to bring you here on Middle Class Macro for middle class people as just let let us just be able to give you some knowledge that hopefully guides you along your way to finding the things that make sense to you.
Yes. If you're young and you're in school, um, learn accounting, learn taxes,
Hmm.
um, and little bits of law,
A
and
little bit slow,
you'll
yeah.
be hard you'll be
Useful.
further than 99% of the people in your fucking of your 99% of your contemporaries and peers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Being self-sufficient is the new major skill set. That is really the best path to freedom. There's not going to be some major come up that frees you. That's not how this game even works. It's just it's about having yourself put together and having a good strategy. And I think the strategy right now is being ready for what comes, being ready to pivot and capitalize, and then not being reckless once you succeed in that.
Yes. Be ready to work on your consistency. You focus, like it's a lot. It's gonna be some hard work, but it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna pay off in the long
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hard work is very often worth it.
run.
As again, someone that's taken on to martial arts, I see a lot of comparison that to real life, entrepreneurship. And trust me, sometimes I get tired of hitting the bag. I get tired of doing the reps. I get tired of running. I don't want to do anymore. I
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
see it improving my game today, but it does.
Hmm.
It all builds up and
Yeah.
accumulates. Just like you can over leverage yourself and just mess up your life and have it expand so much, you can also improve your life and have that improvement compound out.
Hmm.
Absolutely does. And never be afraid to start from zero and just be ready to grind.
Yes.
That's that's
That's something that
That's
a lot
it,
of people
man.
are afraid to do is start from zero.
Yeah, they don't want to grind. People don't want to grind, and that's what I love about David Goggins right now a lot too, because he talks about like how we're a softer generation. He means specifically us millennials too, which he's not wrong. Um,
It's kind of pretty
and
easy, man.
pretty easy, and it's just like if you want to be great and you want to be successful, now is the easiest time to do that because your competition is just so much lower because nobody wants to put in the work nowadays,
Yeah.
and that's everyone just wants a flashy life. They don't want to put in the work.
hmm
So.
it becomes more and more so as each day passes. Like it's always been, I don't know. It's so weird. Like because you think people would know, yeah, like the person that they're looking up to had to have fucking worked hard for that. It didn't just fucking,
It
you
did
know,
disappear.
yeah, not like fucking dude fucking slapped Supreme on a fucking shirt and like bam, millions of
Mhm.
dollars just landed on him. Like
Right.
he had to market it, he had to
Exactly.
push it, he had to fucking a lot of word of mouth,
Mhm.
and then fucking took off.
Exactly. There's a lot of legwork, and a lot of people like we live in a very instantaneous society now. Think
hmm
about food you put it into a microwave, boom, instantaneous, or drive through, or not even drive through. You have an order and someone delivers it to you.
Yeah.
Everything is instantaneous gratification. Your phone is instantaneous gratification, and really, that is the biggest detriment to personal self development that you can possibly have is instant gratification. That's why you don't do that with children. You don't just give them everything they want because they don't learn anything. It's there's something really meaningful to putting it with things that are hard and grinding, and just getting long-term goals and long-term fulfillment. That's
hmm
really, I think, the only way to really succeed in life in general.
Yeah. Took me 20 years to finally get a PRS guitar.
There you go. There you go.
It's
See?
actually legit. Finally bought one this morning.
Nice. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Not one of the expensive ones. I got one of the cheaper ones, like the newer SE
Hmm.
models, but still like that's been like my dream brand guitar for since I was a fucking teenager. So it's like to actually finally
Oh, that's awesome.
buy one and not like fucking, you know, blow out my whole credit card or my entire account just to
Hmm.
get one. Like it feels like a
Hmm.
real accomplishment. Like I was able to get that and still have a lot of money in my account. Okay, good. Thank God.
Yeah, man. And that's those are the things that are important in life. You know what I mean? It's a meaningful tool to you, something you can do something with. It brings you
hmm
enjoyment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a proper investment. You're investing in yourself, and
Mhm.
that's something that people don't do enough of, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, exactly. They're more, yeah, invest less in partying and more in yourself and your hobby. Well,
Hmm.
not all your hobbies, like your hobbies that are actually meaningful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess I
You
shouldn't like say like that. Any hobby can be meaningful to the
you know
to certain.
but as long as it's you, yeah, as long as it builds you, gives you self growth. Like, you don't need to spend as much on alcohol. You don't need to spend on much just going out to
Yeah.
the bar, you know what I mean, or just buying
hmm
new toys and stuff, like, real, yeah,
Yeah, the
invest in
toys can
you,
wait.
building you. Hmm?
I said the toys can wait.
Toys can wait. The toys can
Yeah.
wait from when you have enough income that you can, freely buy toys. But even then, if you truly, put in the work and build yourself into someone successful, you won't even need a lot of toys. You know what I mean? You'll
hmm
know what's important to you and what you actually want, and then you won't waste your money so frivolously on things that like a Tesla, like we were saying, a junk.
Yeah.
It's more like a toy than it really is an asset of a car.
hmm Because it gets to a point where it's not even like an enjoyable thing. It's just purely about status, just to have it. Like even the Tates admit that like a lot of the stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that they have like fucking bores the fuck out of them. But like it's mainly like just a status thing, just to be able to go out and buy it and fucking have it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's there's a whole game to that. Obviously,
Mhm.
you and I are not in the luxury anything, because just not where we're at in life.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be that is a whole subsection of life that people take very seriously. It does
hmm
matter. It's not so important that it should be everything, but it does matter. And it's
Yeah.
part of the game, and that's where everyone's trying to cheat. They want to be able to show that on Instagram without actually having it.
hmm
And that's what I think that's really what we're trying to push here is like, hey, you got to go actually do it for real, because that's the one thing you got to give the Tates, like you not like what they say, you can really dislike who he is, but you can't deny the fact he's legit. He's not a fake
Mm-hmm.
influencer.
Mm-mm.
He's legit in everything he does. You know, he's a
You're
legit
good.
fighter. He's a legit entrepreneur.
Legit
You
chess
know,
master.
legit chess master. You know,
Like,
you-
and like, yeah, like, no, he's fucking, like, and he's been through, like, a lot of people underestimate just how much been through growing up. Like,
right.
fucking, he grew up in fucking Chicago, like, not Chicago, but like that, like, Gary, Indiana, and fucking Detroit, and
Mm,
fucking him and his brother, like, when him and his brother moved to England, or not England, like, Europe, they were fucking struggling. Like, I think they were
right.
on, well, he was on Big Brother, but that was like, well, I forgot, they were on this one show, forgot what it was called, where they like travel around like different parts of the world and stuff, and they had to like, I think they
Mm,
finance their own like where they stay and shit like that, and they had to do all these different like objectives or something like that. I forgot what it was called, but like, he went
mm.
from doing stuff like doing the whole reality show thing to running a bunch of businesses and fucking blowing the fuck up.
Right.
And
You know,
yeah,
and like that's he's really, you know, again, you may not agree with all his opinions, and I'm not saying you have to, but he's a great example and honestly someone for people to look up to do it. Like I look up to him personally as well, and someone like I am trying to achieve a lot of those same things in life, you know, successful entrepreneur, a successful fighter, you know what I mean? A lot of these same things I'm looking to do. And I kind of understand it because he doesn't have, like, some people don't like, because they don't like any sort of arrogance. But I mean, there's a certain level, like when you've earned it, when
Mhm.
you legit are that guy,
Yeah,
you get to kind of, especially the people who are being kind of condescending to you, you get to kind of be like, nah, but fuck you. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's like you get that. And he doesn't do that
Yeah,
to just everyone. He's not a
no,
dick to everyone, just the
yeah,
people
because
who
like
are
if you see
trying to
some of
push back on him.
his normal interviews, he's a pretty civil,
Very
nice
likable
guy.
person, honestly.
And even
Yeah.
before you can tell, like, it is definitely something where he felt like he did earn it, because before he even got rich, like, you see the interviews before he got rich, he's pretty, like, he's a quite, like, bit reserved, not,
Yeah.
definitely not as loud as he is now, and like,
Yeah.
seems a bit more humble and stuff like that. And this is during his kickboxing
Yeah.
days and shit. And now, like, I mean, yeah, so like, I feel like he has earned every right to, if he brags, he's earned that right, because
Yeah.
he's fucking like, people try to discredit him, like try to say, oh yeah, he's not actually rich and this and blah blah blah, and it's like, I forgot who it was. I think it was Daily Mail. They try to say that like he owes like a grand to somebody, and he didn't actually own any of his cars. They were looking up stuff in his name, and he's like, and he replied, oh yeah, because every rich person puts stuff that they own in their own name, like not in a business name or something like that.
Right. You know
And
what
then
I mean?
they never published the article, because they knew that
Mhm.
if anybody were to read, they know yeah, just make them
Layers
look
to the
stupid.
game, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's the smear stories. You know, he's just pulling the Conor McGregor, Jake Paul approach to, you know, YouTube, that you know, people, they don't like it. They don't like when someone's super arrogant, but when they back it up, it you know what I mean? Like Conor McGregor, people get really mad at him because he's very arrogant. But I know he's lost recently. Don't get me wrong. He's still one of the top fighters in the world. Regardless of
Mhm.
those losses, he's losing to other top fighters in the world. That's meaningful. You know, like he's legit. He has the ability to talk like that. We all kind of criticize Jake Paul because we know he isn't legit. He's a good example of someone looks like when they front it. You know what I mean? So
See
let
that clip of him and Tate face to face?
that's a great publicity stunt.
Mhm.
Andrew Tate was super smart to let that idea ride, because there's no way, there's no way that because I understand why these UFC fighters are taking a dive, because the UFC does not pay a lot of these former champions that much money.
Mhm.
Like Tyrone Woodley's last fight in the UFC, he got like 400 grand.
That's it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Right. You know what I mean? For a world championship fight,
Yeah.
as opposed to when he fought Jake Paul boxing and made 2 mil. Yeah. You want to knock me out, bro?
Mhm.
Third round. I'm going to put my hand down and put my chin like this and just, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
all day, you know? But that's the thing though. Tate wouldn't do that to his reputation.
Mhm.
There's not enough money, because you know he already has the money.
Yeah.
So him and Paul will never fight, because he'll never throw. Paul's not going to fight anyone that's not going to throw a fight.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva threw the fight. You know what I mean? Like Anderson Silva was pulling his punches the entire time. But Anderson Silva again maybe made $500,000 per fight in the UFC. And I mean, he was champion for a long time.
Mhm.
He really did not. Yes, I'm sure he has some decent net worth, but compared to most athletes of that caliber, nothing
Mhm.
really. So I understand why Paul can get people like them to throw a fight, but Tate, he's not going to get Tate to throw a fight. No way.
Yeah, like he doesn't need the money. He's
He doesn't need the money. Yeah.
yeah.
That's the goal, man, to get to that point where like, I don't even need your fucking money. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
fuck you kind of thing. Like, that's the goal, man, to get to that point where like you're just legit. You're sovereign. You're a sovereign person.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. That should be a
Mhm.
lot of people's goals actually, to be that sovereign free person.
Most people don't want to be sovereign. They want to just be a high-end cog in the machine. They
Mhm.
don't want to be one of the ones on the bottom that's like grinding all the time. They just want to be a higher end cog. You know what I mean? Be more comfortable in it.
Yeah.
Nah, man. Free and sovereign. That is absolutely the goal.
Mhm.
Absolutely the goal.
100.
Yes, sir. Well, on that note, freedom and sovereignty, Middle Class Macro podcast. Once again, my name is John. Steven here, my good friend and co-host. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have good luck on your path to sovereignty and freedom yourself, achieving financial freedom. I hope that 2023 bears fruit for you and you're able to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to come. I hope that we can all become more successful and wealthy together.
Yes.
Honestly.